Hello there, and welcome to Homeschooling Adventures. My name is PJ Aoun, and in today's video, we are going to be looking at the multiplier effect. Now, someone might be asking what is meant by the multiplier effect. Now, we are saying this is the process whereby an initial change in spending results in a greater change in the output or in the aggregate income. Okay, and we are saying normally for us to be able to calculate the multiplier, there are a few things that I will just need us to understand. The first one is what is called the MPC, which is called the marginal propensity to consume. Now, when we talk about the marginal propensity to consume, we are saying this is the portion of consumer income that is not going to be saved but is going to be spent. Okay, so it's the portion of income that is received by households which is not going to be spent but which is not going to be saved but is going to be spent. Okay, that's our MPC. And then we have the other one that is called the MPS. Now, when we talk about the MPS, we are saying it's the portion of consumer income that is not going to be consumed but is going to be saved. Okay, so we have two aspects here. We have the first one that is called the MPC, which is the marginal propensity to consume, which is that portion of income that is going to be spent. It's the portion of income that is spent. Okay, and then we have the second one, which is the NPS, which is the portion of income that is saved. In other words, households are not going to spend that, they are going to save it. That's the NPS. Now, you do now understand that when you receive income, you have two options. Either you are going to save it or you are going to spend it. If you save it, then that's marginal propensity to save. If you spend it, then that's marginal propensity to consume. Okay? So it would now mean that in terms of figures, we are going to have NPC plus MPS being equal to 1. In other words, NPC plus MPS, the answer that we get is always equal to 1. Okay, because when you get an amount of money, it's either you are going to spend it through consumption or you are going to save it as savings. Okay, so that should always be equal to 1. And then when we are calculating our multiply, I will just need us to understand one thing. You are going to use this formula, K is equal to 1 over 1 minus MPC. Okay, 1 over 1 minus MPC. But this 1 over 1 minus MPC, it can also be the same as someone who says 1 over MPS. Okay, so why are we saying this 1 minus MPC? The answer is very, very simple. When you get income, remember we said MPC minus MPS, MPC plus MPS is equal to 1. So when you say 1 over 1 minus MPC, it's like you have moved this MPC to the other side of the equal sign. It becomes a negative. And the answer that you get is an MPS. And that MPS is this one that we have here. So it means 1 over 1 minus MPC is the same thing as saying 1 over MPS. Okay? Right. Now, you would now need to, someone might be wondering, what is this concept about the multiplier? Now, let me use a two-sector model to try and illustrate the concept. Well, let's assume there is a business and you who is representing the households. Okay? Now, if businesses get an injection of 100,000, okay, from maybe foreign direct investments, they bring in 100,000 into the economy. They are going to use that 100,000 to buy factors of production from you as a household. Okay, so they are going to give you 100,000. Okay, and then you as a household, let's assume that you are going to save 0.1% of this 100,000. It would mean that in the first straw, you are going to save 0.1. which in the real value terms is equal to 10,000. Okay? And then the other amount, that is 90,000, that is left, you are going to spend it on buying goods and services from businesses. Okay? With 10,000 you have saved it, then the other one you are buying goods and services. Okay? And then the businesses use this 90,000 that they have received to buy more factors of production from you as a household. So they are going to use it to buy factors of production from you as a household, and that's now a 90,000. Okay? And then you as a household, you are still going to save the 0.1, which means now in the second round, you are going to still save 0.1 of 90,000 that you have received, which is now 9,000 that you are going to save. And then of the 9,000, of the 90,000 that you have received, it would now mean that you are going to spend 81,000. Okay, now this can continue until, are we together? But this is what you need to understand. The national income has increased, because during the first round, we got 100,000 and we bought things for 90,000. And then, apologies. Then the second round, we bought things for 89,000 because we had saved 9,000. So what it means now is we are saying our national income is now increased from 100,000, which was the injection, to 90,000 plus 81,000, which is now 171,000. That's now the new value. But remember, this can continue indefinitely. But what I wanted to explain is 100,000 was what was injected. But now, we now have 171,000 in terms of the changes in national income. Goods that were bought in the economy and services that were bought in the economy, they are now valued at 171,000 as a result of an increase of 100,000 in injections. You understand? So this is what we mean is the value of the multiplier, is the effects of the multiplier. Now, let me just go back to our formula and try to do the calculations. Now, what we now know is our multiplier K is equal to 1 over 1 minus MPC, or 1 over MPS. So it means our MPC, if this is 0.1, so our MPC is 0.9. So what it means, because we said when we add 0.9 plus 0.1, we should get 1 as the answer. So if MPS is 0.1, then MPC is 0.9. Okay? So it would now mean that it's 1 minus 0.9, which is now going to be 1 over 0.1, which is now equal to 10 times. It's called 10 times. So it means our national income is going to multiply itself 10 times. So if we inject 100,000, we are going to end up with the value of 1 million rands, because we have multiplied our 100,000 by 10. Okay? So our multiplier is 10 times. So it means it's 10 times the initial injection. Okay? So it means now the size of our national income then becomes 1 million rands. Okay? Now, we could have used this formula again, where we were going to say 1 over MPS. Our MPS is 0.1, which would now mean that it's still going to be 10 times, like that. So it means now, whether you use this method or you are using that method, your end result should be the same. But remember, you are guided by the information that was given to you in the exam. That's what is going to guide you. If you are given MPC, then you are going to use this formula. If you are given MPS, then it means you are going to use this formula. It's very, very important that you understand which method you are supposed to be using. Though they all give you the same answers, but you lose some marks if you don't use the information that was given to you correctly. Okay, now let's just move on. Now, this one was a two-sector model. Now, let me introduce the third participant in a domestic economy. In this case, the third participant is our government. Now, when government intervenes, they are going to intervene through taxation. And what it would now mean is they are going to impose what is called marginal rate of taxation. Now, that's what we are going to be looking at. So it means now in a three-sector model, okay, we are going to have the households. Okay, we also have businesses. We also have government. Okay, that's our three-sector model. So it means now in this case, our households, they are going to save. Their leakage is a saving. Okay, savings, and then plus our businesses. Okay, they are not part of that. And then the next one, government. They are going to use what is called the marginal rate of taxation. Now, let me just explain this. If we look at the marginal rate of taxation, okay, this is the portion of income that is going to be deducted by government as taxes or through taxes. So that amount of money that has been taken by government through taxes is not available for spending, because this is the tax that has been reduced. It reduces the disposable income. The marginal rate of taxation, it reduces the amount of money that is available for spending by households. And if it reduces that, it means the households will not be able to buy as much as they used to do before, because a part of their income is going to government through taxes. Are we together? So what it would now mean is we are saying in a three-sector model, okay, we are going to end up having our new formula for the multiplier. It will now be 1 over MPS, which is representing household savings, plus our MRT, okay, which is representing the rate of taxation by government. Okay, and then it would now mean, let's probably put some figures to it. We said our NPS, we were working with it as 0.1. So it would now mean that NPS is 0.1, MRT probably will put it at 0.2. And then we'll look at the other one, which is the imports. Then I will just apply the formula, everything all together. Okay, so this is what we now need to understand. Okay, this is 1 over MPS plus MRT in the case of a three-sector model. And then in the case of a four-sector model now, this one now is when we are dealing with the rest of the world. We are also importing and exporting goods to the rest of the world. In such an instance, it would now mean that our formula for the multiplier is going to be affected by imports. Those are the leakages that are going to affect us there, which is the imports now, because we are adding a foreign sector. Is that correct? So in this case now, it would now mean that our multiplier is going to be for a four-sector model. It means our multiplier is going to be 1 over MPS, which is the marginal propensity to save, which is that portion of income that was saved by households, plus the MRT, which is that portion of income that was taken by government through taxes, plus the MPM, which is the marginal propensity to import, which is that portion of income, household income, that is going to be spent on buying goods from the rest of the world. Okay? Now, this is what it would now mean. Let's assume that our MPS is still 0.1, 0.1 plus our MRT, it's now going to be maybe 0.1, marginal rate of taxation, 0.1. Then we also have our MPM, which is the marginal propensity to import. Let's assume that it's now 0.2. So what it would now mean is we are saying it's 1 over 0.4. And then our multiplier now, if you punch it on your calculator, you should get an answer of 2.5 times is the value of your multiplier. It should be 2.5 times. Now, look at this. At first, we calculated the value of the multiplier when our MPS was 0.1. Even here, our MPS is still 0.1. But this is the thing. When we had only the MPS, the value of the multiplier was 10 times. Now, because we have added MRT and MPM, the value of the multiplier has gone down to 2.5 times. Now, what does this mean to us in economics? It means that when the leakages increase, it has an effect of reducing on the size of the multiplier. Whenever leakages increase, it can be an increase in savings, increase in marginal rate of taxation, or an increase in the marginal propensity to import. When any one of those increases, it's going to end up reducing on the value of our multiplier. Okay, right. So this is what we're talking about. Now, what do we need to know? We also need to know what is called the multiplier graph. And I'm going to illustrate the multiplier graph. Okay? Okay, so on our multiplier graph, you now understand that it's just a normal graph. Okay? And this side we are going to have our expenditure, and this side we are going to have our income, and this one is our origin. And then I'm going to draw my 45-degree line. And this 45-degree line, it indicates expenditure being equal to our income. Okay? Our expenditure is equal to income. That's what it is indicating. Now, you do now need to understand that when it's a 45-degree line like this, what does it signify? It shows that any amount that is received through income, any additional income that is received, is going to end up resulting in an equal change in the amount of spending, in the amount of money that has been spent. So every amount of money that is received as income is going to be spent. So what that means now is there is going to be a 45-degree line indicating an equal change on both the income as well as the spending, indicating that there is no savings, there is no leakages, there is no marginal rate of taxation that we have there. Okay, now we have this other point that I just want to illustrate here. Okay, now this line here that we are going to call it aggregate expenditure is equal to our C plus our I plus our G, which is the domestic expenditure. Consumption spending by households, investment spending by businesses, and government spending. That's what is going to make us to give us our aggregate expenditure. And then you would obviously now know that this point is our equilibrium point. Okay? And then if I was to draw a line like that, then it means this one is our aggregate expenditure. Okay? This one is our point where we are going to have our equilibrium. Okay? Now, this one is our equilibrium. So it's going to be E like that. Okay? Now, let me just continue. So what it means now is, and this one, remember, it's representing demand. Okay. Now, if we look at this graph, the point where it leaves the y-axis, this point here, where it leaves the vertical axis, okay, it indicates what is called autonomous expenditure or autonomous consumption. Now, what is autonomous consumption? Autonomous consumption is consumption that is there, or that is not affected, or that is not influenced by the level of income. In other words, this is consumption when income is equal to 0. Autonomous spending is spending when income is equal to 0. Okay? So you will find that this point here, there is no value on income. The value is 0 on income because this is our income. So the value on income is 0, but there is spending that is going to be there. Maybe a spending of 15. Okay, so it means now 15 is our autonomous consumption. And then anything else that starts increasing is going to indicate our induced consumption, which is the consumption that is influenced by what? A change in income. Okay, right. And then you would now need to understand that, let's say we now have a change in our investments. Okay, maybe we now have a change in investments. Okay, it forms a new curve that I'm going to call aggregate expenditure 1 is equal to C1 plus I1 plus G1. Okay, and then it gives us a new equilibrium that I'm going to call E1. And then if I'm to draw my line again, probably this one is going to be our D1. Now, I want you to understand something. This one is a change in injections, okay? Change in our injections, okay? Which has resulted in an increase, change in income, okay, of that amount. Probably if it was an injection of 100,000, like in our previous case, then it would mean, let's assume this one was 150. So it would now mean that this one is a change of 100,000. So certainly here it should be a 250. Why is it 250? Because our injection was 100,000. Okay, and we had originally 150. So it should have increased to 250. Now, let's look at this equilibrium and that equilibrium. You are going to see that our national income at first, it was Y0, and then now our new national income is now going to be Y1. There's going to be this increase here. Now, where is the value of the multiplier? You now need to understand that this graph here illustrates the multiplier because a small change, there's been this gap here is the only change that we had. But let's look at the change that it has caused on national income. It has caused this big change on national income. Just this small change in national income has resulted in a big change in just the small change in spending has resulted in a big change in the national income. Okay, so this is where we are saying the multiplier comes in. When we say 2 times, what we are in principle saying is, we are saying this one, it should go 2.5 times here between this gap here. Okay, it means a change in spending results in a greater change in national income, and that's how the multiplier is represented in a graph. If you like the video, click the like button and remember to subscribe to the channel. All the best in your